Hey there, how are you? Dr. Dave, the RV Dummy. I've got a great show for you today. Before I start with it, though, I just want to take a minute or so and let you know how heartfelt I feel from all of the incredible comments that you made from last week's video on the trolling situation that I'm having. And although I cannot respond to everyone, I hope you understand that I did make it a point to read every single comment, and I just can't even express in words how much you mean to me. Whether you commented or not, just being part of this RV Dummy community means an incredible amount, and I'm going to be around for a long time helping you with any questions that you may have about the lifestyle or any way I can help you. I'll be here for you. So again, I just want to express my heartfelt appreciation for your incredible support and comments from my last video. Now, getting into today's video, it's going to be a little bit different. I have a guest I'm going to be bringing in. His name is Robert. I'm going to introduce him actually as soon as he comes in as well. He's got a really pretty darn cool channel on YouTube called Roads of Life, which I want you to check out and subscribe to. Now, the other thing I want to mention, though, before I bring Robert in is that at some points, the video might seem a tiny bit chopped up, and that's because I had to do a little bit of editing because we got into some crazy discussions, and one of the discussions we got into was about the trolling video from last week, and I just think, you know, probably enough is enough, and we don't have to rehash that. So I took a lot of that out, so we just kind of left a lot of the meat and substance in this video, which is really going to help a lot of you because I know many of you still have questions on buying an RV, whether you should finance it or not, whether that's a smart move, what type of RV you should get, whether you can afford something. So we did a lot of talking about that, and also a little bit about life as well. So he's a really good guy. So let's go ahead and start with the video. Welcome. Let's come on and bring Robert in. Okay, Robert, how are you doing? What's going on? Welcome to the RV Dummy.
Thank you.
Hey.
To the RV Dummy. I just want you to know that I'm very jealous that you're a doctor.
Well, okay. Don't start with me on that. Highly recommend you check out Robert's channel. Roads of Life is a great channel. Admittedly, it's not a tremendous channel, but I think there are advantages to that because he knows each and every one of his viewers and subscribers. So I'll put a little link there. Check him out. He's got some great stuff, which we'll talk about in a little while. Get really upset because they want something. They want it now. They think they deserve it. And we're talking about RVs now. They think they deserve it. And they don't want just a small one. They don't want a cheap one. They want one that's going to hold the whole family and the cousins and the aunts and the uncles and the relatives that all come in. They want this tremendous rig. They want it now, and they think they deserve it. And what's wrong with getting a loan for that? If I have to pay cash, I can't get this. That's the most commonly used phrase. Well, if I can't get a loan, I can't buy this. Dr. Dave, you're being unreasonable. Get it all the time.
Well, I mean, I understand that. I mean, they want stuff now. Where's my stuff? I deserve my stuff. I mean, I think we're all a little bit that way, depending on what we want. But most of us step back and go, oh, wait, no, I don't really deserve that. I have to work for it. At least I hope most people are that way. I think they're making decisions based on what they want and not what they need. Does that make sense? Or
well, yes, but okay, if we only bought what we needed in life, then we'd only have like the essentials to live on. So I think it's okay to buy things that we want, but you have to be able to afford them. You can't just buy things you want and take out loans for them. You just can't do that. It mathematically, it just doesn't work. And
well, I wrote all these notes, just prepared for this. So, but,
tell me what you have. Show me
because I have no brain and I don't remember anything.
That sounds like me. Sounds like
I started. See, we're simpatico here.
We might be twin sons of different mothers, possibly,
and different fathers, and entire families. But other than that, but I started thinking about what is a loan and why would you get a loan? Because I can sit here and defend either side. I can sit there, well, we take loans all the time. We have to get a loan to get our house. Most people have to get a loan to get a car. I know I have. I mean, I suppose if you got a really, really cheap car, you may not need a loan. But, if you're buying a new car and you want a new car, you usually got to get a loan. And so I started thinking, well, why is an RV different, or why is one loan different from another kind of loan? And I started thinking about returns on investment. In other words, I started defining investment as something you lose. So I have to invest my time, or I have to invest my money, or I have to invest risk, right? And the return is something I gain from that.
Right.
So I think people are minimizing what the risk is and what the money is and what the time is because they want that gain. And they ignore the actual investment. So that's why I do my video that says, sure, get a loan. Well, I don't say sure, get a loan, but I don't see anything wrong with a loan if you know what the risks are. But if you don't know what the risks are, or you minimize the risks, or you justify the risks, then you're going to get a loan that you can't afford. And which is why I did that loan video where I'm showing 20 years at 5%, and you're spending 50 grand on an $85,000 loan. You're almost 50 grand. You're 50% of that payback is just interest. And because I kept looking at all these advertisements that said, hey, only $500 a month. And I kept going, well, how can it be $500 a month? My house cost me $109,000 back in the day. And I was paying $1,000 and $2,000 a month to get rid of it. So how could it possibly be $500 a month? And that's when I started looking at these advertisements, and it was 20 year and 30 year loans. And I was sitting there going, on an RV?
Well, it's a good point, because you mentioned cars, RVs, homes. I mean, people also put different things on credit cards. I mean, people buy furniture and all kinds of things on credit cards. But I'll tell you, and it's okay. Our opinions on some of these things might not jive, and that's totally fine.
Right.
In my opinion, the only time I think it's okay to finance something, to borrow money for something, in my opinion, is when you're buying a home. You mentioned, because here's the deal, and you know this, a home, whenever you borrow money from a bank or from a lender, there is always risk involved. I don't care what anybody says, when you're borrowing money, there is risk, and there's nothing that's totally safe. I mean, I've heard people say, I want to borrow money, really cheap money. I want to borrow more money on my house. I'll get maybe a line of credit on my house, a HELOC or something, and it's really cheap money, and then I'll put that into the stock market or into Bitcoin, because we know those things always go up and there's no risk. I mean, so there's always risk involved in a loan when you're borrowing from somebody else. I mean, things could happen with the economy. Things could crash like they did in 2008. I mean, I've got a lot of friends that lost homes in 2008, 2009 and beyond, because they were mortgaged way too high, and when things started crashing down, they couldn't make their payments, and the loans were called in. They were foreclosed on. So, but having said that, a house is usually an appreciating asset. Normally, over time, not always, but a house value will go up. But anything else, like a car, an RV, furniture, that's all going to go down. And so when you mentioned car a little while ago, we can even lump RVs and cars in the same category. It's okay. So they're things with engines and motors and metal that rusts out eventually, and they just go downhill. I think borrowing for these things with engines or motors or wheels is really very, very risky and not a smart idea. It's very dangerous because of the risk. And why not? You mentioned car. You mentioned a car. So, Robert, what would be the problem? I mean, I know, look, everybody wants a nice, expensive, fancy car. But what's the problem if you don't have a bunch of tens of thousands lying around that you can just throw away or, put towards a car? What's the problem with getting something that's a lot less. It might be a beater. It might not be what you really want, but at least you can afford it and you can pay cash with it. And then in the future, and this goes for RVs as well, and then in the future, as you're saving more, accumulating more money, doing the right thing, living below your means and not spending money on all this stuff, in the future, maybe you can trade up and trade up in RV or trade up in car. That's the safest way to do it.
Well, I think that's a great plan. But what I've noticed is when people go, I'm going to buy that used car instead of the new car because the new car is $30,000 and the used car is $20,000, make up any numbers you want.
Yeah.
So I'm saving $10,000. I say, hey, great. So what are you going to do with that $10,000? And they go spend it. So to me, it's like, well, then you're not saving $10,000. You've just spent it on something else. You're not investing it and bringing money in, which is my big deal. Everyone works for money, and I think we should be having money work for us. So it's great if let's go get the used car and then take the savings and invest it. Don't spend it on something else unless you have to because, you have dental bills or something like that. But I mean, in general, if you're running around trying to save money, then save the money. If you go save money over here but spend it, that's not saving money. That's redistributing money.
Right.
Redistributing money.
I like
way you want to pronounce it.
I like the redistributing. I like the sound of that actually. But you sounds like you're talking about paying cash because if you're borrowing, then that's a moot point because if you're borrowing money, you're not going to have that extra $10,000 lying around to do whatever you want with it because you're not having it. You don't have it because you're borrowing money to buy the $20,000 car.
Right. So I'm assuming what you're saying is get the cheaper one because you can pay cash for it.
Well, the main thing I'm saying, and this is what I've been telling my viewers and subscribers for a couple of years now, that all I'm saying is buy something that you can afford. And by meaning you can afford it, not you can afford $500 payments for 20 years. I'm not talking about that. Right. Buy something you can afford to pay cash for. You got the cash sitting in a pile somewhere in an account. You can write a check, you can pay cash, and it's not going to change your life. Because if you're living below your means and you're spending less money than you make, then pay cash for something you can afford. And if you can afford a $50,000 car and pay cash for it and it's not going to change your lifestyle or your retirement plan, I say go for it. I'm not telling people not to buy expensive things, but I'm telling them to only buy what they can afford. A multimillionaire can go out and pay $100,000 cash for a car and they wouldn't care.
It
doesn't affect them.
But I think one of the things you said is live within their means. So in my view is, let's say I need to get to work every day and I live in a city that doesn't have great public transportation. I need a car.
Yes.
And I want a car that goes, that's going to last me a long time. I don't want to have to worry about it breaking down. I want to have peace of mind. Well, if I buy a clunker, it's cheaper, but now I'm going to be worried all the time. And to me, that's worth money. I don't want to be worried every day. And I've had clunkers and I've always worried, is it going to start today? And I don't want that. I have to be at work. I have to be at a certain time. I can't have my car not work. So again, we get back to that return on investment and we go, it's not just the money, it's my peace of mind. It's my health. It's my showing that I'm reliable and I'm going to be at work and do whatever I need to do, because there are people who have the clunker and they come in late and they do this, and then all of a sudden they get this reputation of, why are you always here late? And the job opportunities go away. I'm just making up a story, but I mean, so I look at all of the risks and all of the things I'm getting in return. So I would say, my argument would be, if you're honest with yourself and you know that you need to be at a certain place at a certain time and you're going to be constantly worried and just go crazy and you don't know if the car is going to work, then it's worth getting the loan. As long as you don't say, I'm going to buy the $100,000 car. Maybe you can afford a $20,000, but the $30,000 one is going to be really reliable. So I'm going to get $10,000 loan. And yes, I know that I'm going to have to pay a certain amount of money. So I do my research and see how much money am I really going to pay back. because I have family members and friends and all that going, hey, I bought this car for $20,000. And I say, oh, you had cash? And they go, no, I took a loan out. So I go, oh, so you spent $25,000. So no, it was $20,000. And I have this argument with them, and it's like, no, you got a loan. They don't think about the research of how much they're really spending. But if you do your research and go, I can afford paying back some amount of money in a certain amount of time, well, then there's not a risk. You've reduced your risk, therefore the loan is a good value because you're not worried, you're not concerned about not making it to work. Now, of course, you might end up getting a lemon. I'm not saying you won't, but most of the time, you're not getting a lemon, you're getting a good car. And the same thing with RVs. If I'm researching RVs, I have never driven an RV. I don't even know if I'm going to like an RV. But I'm going to reduce my risk because we're going to go rent an RV, which is going to cost us an arm and a leg, but we're going to rent one and we're going to drive it around. If we find out we can't stand this lifestyle, then I know not to go buy an RV. So instead of spending $100,000 in an RV, I'm going to spend $1,000 on a short trip. That's worth the money because I'm getting a return on my investment.
Well, I totally agree with you there, and I love your return on investment explanation. It's really, really good. But the $1,000 that you're spending to rent the RV, I think that's a smart investment because again, it's going to tell you, it's going to answer your question. Do I like this lifestyle? And you might have to try it, a few weekends or a few longer trips, but that's okay. Do I like this lifestyle before you plunk down a whole lot of money on an RV, expensive RV especially? But getting back to the car example, the $20,000 versus the $30,000, you made a comment, and I just got a question about this. You said, if I want to buy a $30,000 car, but all I have is $20,000 to put down towards it, I'm going to go ahead and borrow 10. I know I'm borrowing it, but I want the better car, and I know there's no risk because I know I can pay that $10,000 back. What do you mean? What do you mean when you say there's no risk on the $10,000? What do you mean by that?
I guess no risk. There's always risk, but I do enough research and I plan and I know how much money I have and how much my investments makes and how much money I bring in every year. So I can go, okay, I've got to pay this loan off. So instead of going to Starbucks every day, $4 every day, some.
I like that. I never heard that. I never heard that one.
You've never heard $4?
$4? No. I mean,
yes, $4.
Of course, I know the whole story that you can't walk into a Starbucks without spending at least $3 or $4.
Right, and you don't. So
I never heard the $4. That's good.
I can sit and plan. Okay, I'll save money by doing this other thing or not spending it on this other thing, and so I'm planning how I'm going to pay off the loan. So I'm reducing that risk every time I plan. Sure, something might happen. I might have a 5-year loan and I get in a car crash. But you can't plan for everything. So the idea is that you're minimizing the risk, the payback. So I'm gaining peace of mind, but I am taking a risk to gain that peace of mind because nothing is free in this world.
Well, I like the explanation now, and I like the fact that we at least acknowledge that you're taking somewhat of a risk. There is a risk.
There's always a risk. There's always a risk on everything you do.
It brings up another question, and this is supposed to be about RVs, but I'm just gonna ask. But I'm not in favor of college loans. I think they're really super, super dangerous, and that's why we've got this problem now in the country where there are like trillions of dollars. I don't know if that's the exact amount, but you know what I'm talking about. Trillions and trillions of dollars of loans that just can't be paid back because the kids that are graduating are not making enough money to pay them back, and
they can't afford the loan. Yes,
it is really, really dangerous. My philosophy, my feeling is, go to a college that is maybe not a private college, not an expensive. And by the way, I didn't go to private college. I went to state school, so that they were
That's
not.
Where I went. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got great education at state schools. But God forbid you go to an inexpensive state school, and there is something called work these days. I mean, it's been around for a long time, and God forbid, instead of taking out an expensive loan that is really risky, you might not be able to pay back, you work your butt off through college, and you make some money, and even if you maybe take less credits because you're working hard. See, I'm really loan adverse, other than homes. I just think they're really super dangerous, and they can actually destroy lives. Student loan, you can't dismiss them in bankruptcy, and other. They're never dismissible, no matter what. They're going to follow you around forever.
Right.
If you go to, let's say you go to school and you decide you don't know what you're going to do with your life, and you don't get a good job, and you still have to pay back that loan no matter what. I think they're super, super, super dangerous. And I know I'm going to get some pushback on this.
But you shouldn't get pushback from it at all, because everything you've said is true. They're super dangerous and very risky. And I work at a community college, so I see this every single day. And it's a big city, and it's a community college, and most of our students are first-time college students. Their family have never been to college. They're the first ones to go.
Yeah.
A lot of them come from very little money. They have to get loans to get any kind of education at all. And, I climbed the ranks and decided I couldn't stand the pressure. So I decided to come back down, and I became an advisor at that same school, which is actually an entry-level position, but I'm very happy because I get to talk to students and their experiences. And I swear to God, I have gotten emails and stuff that goes, "Hi, I need to get a degree. What do you have?"
Wow.
Just pause for a second and think what they just said. What do you have? Like, I need to go to the grocery store. What kind of can of beans do you sell? They have no clue. They think that getting the piece of paper is the goal.
Like it's a commodity, right?
Yeah. I have to get that piece of paper, and therefore everything's fine, which is magical thinking. I went through high school, public school, and they pushed me through, and I was kind of there, and my grades were but I kept graduating. So now I'm going to college, so same thing, right? So they get loans, and they go to college, and they don't have any direction at all. And one of my jobs is to go, okay, stop. What is it you want to do? Mm-hmm. And all the time the answer is, I wanted to get a degree in XYZ. And I'm going, that's nice, but what is it you want to do? Because as far as I'm concerned, a degree is like buying a hammer. You have a hammer. If you don't use it for anything, you don't have a hammer. And you spent money and you still don't have a hammer because you're not doing anything with it. And some people will be smart enough to go, well, I'm going to take a hammer, I'm going to hammer nails. And it's like, great. Into what? I don't know, just hammering nails because that's what I can do. And I said, no. The goal is to build a house or whatever, build a thing using a hammer to nail things. That's the goal, not the hammer, not the nails, not whacking things, building the house. That's the goal. So I do the same thing with their education. What is it you want to do? And then the risk goes down because now they have a direction. And then I justify, yes, of course you can get a loan because you don't have money to get the loan and you have a direction. You know what you're going to do with that degree. It's not just, I need a piece of paper anymore. So I don't have a problem with that kind of getting a loan as long as you can at some point pay it back, because you have a plan to get a job, to do something that gives you a return so that you can pay back the loan. I see a lot of students, and not just at community college, who are going to major colleges. We're going to be a doctor, and they've got $200,000 loans. And it's like, I don't care what kind of doctor you are, you ain't making $200,000. You're just starting out. And you still have to go to a hospital and be a fellow and work 24 hours a day, slave labor, or whatever you're going to do, and you still don't have money for that loan. You can't pay it back. That's what I think is the problem, is that we're pricing education out of the market.
But again, getting back to my point about student loans, and I know this is not really RV stuff, but something, it is, because everything.
It is, because it's about loans, and it's about what you do with it and the risk you take.
And everything is connected. In life, you can't just talk about the financial aspect of RVs without really having known the whole picture. So I just want to say we gotta get going in a couple of seconds, because we're way over. But this has been so much fun, Robert. And by the way, I'm definitely going to have you back, no question.
Absolutely.
I still say, but my final word, I'll give you the final word also. But my final word before you give your final word is, and I keep pointing this way. By the way, I think everything's going to be different. You're going to be there. I think. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So make sure you check out Robert's channel, Roads of Life. Robert, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And
Loved it.
we will be back with you all very soon. I'm the RV dummy. Robert is Roads of Life guy, whatever he is.
Roads of Life. Just
Roads of Life. And we'll see really soon. Thanks, guys. I appreciate every single one of my subscribers and viewers and all you friends and family. Thanks so much.